Welcome to eDay1. We are going to review factoring and solving with lead coefficient of 1. So looking at this problem, when we are factoring, we have to come up with the factors that multiply to 15 and add to 8. So multiply to 15 and add to 8. So let's go ahead and remember what multiplies to 15. We have 1 and 15. 2 does not go into 15. We have 3 and 5. 4 does not go into 15, and we're back at 5. So those are the only factors. Which combination would help us add to 5? And you're correct, that's 3 and 5. Our factored form would be putting those into parentheses. Now remember, you should use your calculator and confirm that 3 plus 5 does equal 8, and that 3 times 5 does equal 15. If they are correct, we put them into our parentheses, and that's what we call factored form. The next thing we're going to do is solve using the zero product property. And if you recall doing that, we take each one of our parentheses and we set it equal to 0. So we take one parenthesis and then we take the other parenthesis and we set it equal to 0. And then to solve, we just are going to solve each of those equations. So for this one, to get x by itself, if this is a positive 3, we will undo it by subtracting 3 to both sides. And solving, we get x equals negative 3. On the next one, to get x by itself, if we need to move the positive 5 to undo a positive, we will minus 5. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. And that would give us x equals negative 5. So our two solutions to this problem is x equals negative 3 and x equals negative 5. Let's try the next one. So for the next one, it says factor and solve. These all will have a lead coefficient of 1. And that means we're going to go straight to factoring. There's no GCF that has a lead coefficient of 1. We want to know what multiplies to 9 and what's going to add to negative 6. So multiplying to 9, we could multiply to 9. It's 1 and 9. Or our other option is 3 and 3. So which combination would we use to get to that negative 6? I agree it's the 3 and the 3, but we want to think of how we can multiply to be a positive and add to be a negative 6. And that would make them both negative. But you should double check in your calculator. If you add them, do you get a negative 6? If you multiply them, do you get a positive 9? And if you do, that means those are the correct numbers, and we're going to write it in factored form. Factored form means put them in parentheses. So we have x minus 3 and x minus 3. I'm okay if you leave it this way, but if you remember in class, if we saw something twice, we did write it as a quantity squared. And now it's time to solve. So if we want to solve, they say it's solved using the zero product property. And that's because anything times 0 will give us 0. And to solve, all we have to do is take our parenthesis and set it equal to 0 and solve. So to get x by itself, we will add 3 to both sides. And that gives us x equals 3. This is our solution when we solve, and our factored form is here boxed. One more example. Hopefully this is ringing some bells and you're remembering how to do this. When we have a lead coefficient of 1, our GCF is automatically 1, and we are going to factor this. We want to know what multiplies to negative 24 and adds to 2. So multiplies and adds. Well, we want to go down our list of what multiplies to 24. So it's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. And I want you to take a second and look and see which numbers would add to 2. So 4 and 6 will work, but we got to think about what combination. Is it a positive 4? Is it a negative 4? Is it a positive 6 or a negative 6? And we should double check. Does negative 4 plus 6 equal 2? Does negative 4 times 6 equal negative 24? So always, before you say that you're done, double check it in your calculator. Our factored form is writing it with our parentheses. And writing with our parentheses will be x minus 4 and x plus 4. I'm sorry, x plus 6. And now if they want us to solve, remember to solve, we're just going to take each parenthesis and set it equal to 0. And then we go and take the other parenthesis and set that one equal to 0. And then we're going to solve each of them separately. So I'll zoom in here. To get our x by itself, first thing we're going to do is add 4. And we get x equals 4. And the next one, if we have a positive 6, to undo a positive 6, we are going to minus 6. And we get x equals negative 6. So our factored form is here. And then our two solutions are x equals 4 and x equals negative 6. So these are your notes, and hopefully this is a review and a reminder on how to factor when we have a lead coefficient of 1. So the next thing I want us to do is when you're in Schoology, we are going to, I have to get to your class, so course, period, our double period class, it's loading. We're going to go to our e-learning days, and this is our eDay1. In our eDay1 in the agenda, there is a link for you to click on. It says homework, quiz, factor, and solve with lead coefficient of 1. If you click on it, it's going to take you, and you're going to have to use this bottom arrow. Oh, you might not have to, but you're going to sign in and register if you haven't already. Hopefully at this time you have. So you could always use the bottom arrow to link you into this quizzes. But once again, you want to sign in, which hopefully you will before you begin. And so let me go back to our agenda. You're going to get 15 questions to factor. I'm going to have you do your factoring on paper, just like I did for our notes, and you have to take a picture of your homework. You have to take a picture and you're going to submit it via Schoology. And I need to see all work for those 15 questions. You're going to get the questions from your quizzes. That's how they say it. It has Q-U-I-Z-I-Z-Z. It's multiple choice, and so you'll be able to kind of use that to help you, but I do need to see the work on paper. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. We can Zoom. We can talk on Zoom via live face conversation, and we'll go from there.